Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgier kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel and being a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. And we are doing a huge push to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We are on track for that, and a big thank you for all of you that hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to us. If you want to help us hit that goal, definitely hit that subscribe button. If you've been here a few times, definitely consider it. And without further ado, we're going to jump into the Ua6 for 1D&D. We're going to see what they did to the Ranger. Well, the Ranger is one of my favorite classes to play, so I'm a little worried about what they're going to do here and see how they kind of evolve. But let's see what they did and what they kept from the original UA for 1D&D Ranger that really boosted them up a lot. Let's see what they did. At level 1, you get Deft Explorer. It's a skill that gives you expertise in a proficiency that you pick off of the Ranger's skill list, and that you pick when you pick the Ranger at level 1. And you also get 2 types of terrain, Arctic, coast, desert, forest, grassland, mountain, swamp, or Underdark. And you have advantage on intelligence, nature checks about the chosen terrains, and you have advantage on wisdom survival checks to track creatures in them. And whenever you finish a long rest, you can meditate and replace one of the chosen terrain types with a different one from the list. This is kind of circumstantial. The terrain types, you're going to pick the terrain that's going to most encompass the campaign setting you're in, which is kind of a no-brainer once you pick the class anyway. But being able to track creatures and have nature checks and know the area around you depends on the kind of player you are and what your goals are. Tracking creatures is depicted on whether or not you're chasing something or you're particularly trying to hunt something. So it's creatures, not just beasts, so you can hunt individual people, bandits, whatever it is, which can be more useful than you would actually think. But if you don't play that way, it doesn't really do anything. Expertise is great. I mean, you get a lot to choose from. You can choose animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, or survival. A lot of those are really great, and getting expertise at level 1 is a big boost to your adventuring abilities. And also at level 1, you're going to get weapon mastery, which gives you that special ability to choose the mastery top properties of any of the weapons you can wield, which as a ranger is going to be martial and simple weapons, so you can pick everything out there. At second level, you get Favored Enemy, which gives you the ability to have Hunter's Mark, the spell Always Prepared, and you can cast it a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier without expending a spell slot, and you regain all expended uses of this ability when you finish a long rest. This is a very strong thing to have because it's going to give you an additional d6 of damage on every attack that you make, and you get it for free for X amount of times per your wisdom modifier, which is great because it encourages you to use your wisdom more often and not just kind of dump that and just be a martial. But, you know, it does come with its downsides because you will be concentrating on it and you will always be concentrating on it. So it does kind of depict the kind of fighting style and things you want to do and how you want to be. If you want to be ranged, then this is going to be a significant bigger bonus to you than if you were in melee. You also get your fighting style at this level. You can pick whichever fighting style you want out of archery, defense, dueling, two-weapon fighting, which is just perfectly fine. And I think the new Ranger is going to start gearing you towards being an archer, and you'll see that from the other abilities that are going to come up later on. At 6th level, they give you Roving, which increases your speed by 10 feet while you aren't wearing heavy armor. They also give you a climb speed and a swim speed equal to your speed. So that means at 6th level, you can climb 40 feet. As well as swim 40 feet. This, again, is depicted on the kind of campaign you're running and the kind of environmental circumstances you might find. If you're in a mountainous region, yeah, climbing might make a huge difference. But that increase in move speed really depicts kind of what you're entitled or really kind of destined to be. And I think, again, it's something that's inching you towards having the ability to outrun everything, keep everything at a distance, which is really significantly more beneficial to an archer type character. At 9th level, you're going to get an ability called Conjure Barrage, which they listed as Channeling Nature's Might, you can cause your weapon to multiply and strike at creatures before you. You always have the Conjure Barrage spell prepared. It doesn't say that it goes against your spells known, but it's probably going to be worded that way once the final print comes out. Conjure Barrage, again, something you do at range, and always having it prepared is an incentive to use the ability more often. Again, there's nothing that depicts if you can cast this for free or not, so you will be using a spell slot for it. Depict whether or not you want to or not based on kind of your build, but I'm thinking you're going to be end up casting this a little bit more often, especially if you already have it prepared and you can still prepare other spells around it. Also, at 9th level, you get a Deft Explorer improvement. You get to choose another one of your proficiencies from your Rangers list and gain expertise in that skill. So that's 2 expertise at level 9. And you also get to choose 2 more terrain types for your Deft Explorer feature, which is kind of a lot. You're basically going to have the availability to choose a huge amount and then switch them regularly. This isn't the kind of world where you're constantly jumping through portals or something into different terrain types that you would need to know so many. But the expertise is always useful. At 10th level, you get Tireless. You gain 2 of the following benefits, which is temporary hit points, and as an action you can give yourself temporary hit points equal to 1d8 plus your wisdom modifier, and you can use this action a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is something you're going to be doing before combat every single combat, or if you find yourself in a situation where you're not going to be able to make an attack, this is where you use that ability. Adding a d8 plus your wisdom, depending on how you built your character, your wisdom could be pretty high. Maybe you rolled stats, maybe you built specifically for wisdom. You can get a reasonable number of hit points out of this that would justify at least a level up of hit points worth for whatever in combat you have. If you know you're going to have to go through something that you might take damage, throw this on and reduce the damage basically by this. Temporary hit points acts, in my mind, more so as a damage mitigation than like a true hit point bonus. And then you also get decreased exhaustion. Whenever you finish a short rest, your exhaustion level, if any, decreased by 1. This is super rare. It's an extremely rare thing for you to get exhaustion, but you do kind of have to work extremely hard to get it, but it's very difficult to get rid of it. If that's the case, this is going to be a huge ability for you to keep you in the fight and keep you in a better position than the rest of your team, who will then probably have to rely on you if your exhaustion levels have exceeded a certain amount. At 14th level, you're going to get Nature's Veil, which is very previous to the optional choice in Tasha's, except the only difference is you can use it based on the amount of your wisdom modifier as opposed to your proficiency bonus. You do have to like really ramp up that wisdom to get the benefits of being able to turn invisible as a bonus action, and also everything else that gives you that kind of incentive or based around that. You gain Conjure Volley at 17th level, which gives you the Conjure Volley spell always prepared. Again, it doesn't state that it counts against the number of spells you can prepare or not, but I'm imagining that's going to be cleared up in the final print, and it's going to not count towards that. And this also kind of depicts you being an archer because it's basically the ranger's fireball, so you don't want to be anywhere near it. And whereas Conjure Barrage is kind of like the ranger's Cone of Cold. Very useful spells, but again, no free casts of that spell. It's just having it prepared. So depending on your build and what kind of spells you choose, whether or not this is really useful to you is going to come down really to an individual kind of basis. At 18th level, you get Feral Senses. They just cleaned up the language and just gave you blind sight up to a range of 30 feet. And at 20th level, they changed Foe Slayer just a little bit. It states that you become an unparalleled hunter of your foes, and when your attack roll misses the target of your hunter's mark, you can add your wisdom modifier to the attack roll, potentially turning it into a hit. In addition, whenever you hit a target with an attack roll and deal damage to it, you can add your wisdom modifier to the damage. So say you're 20 dex, 20 wisdom, and you're doing a d8 hit die of damage. You have Hunter's Mark on, you swing. That's 1d8 plus 10, not counting any bonuses, maybe magic weapons plus 3, whatever. If you had something like Sharpshooter, the wisdom modifier would just negate the penalty to the attack roll, which in turn gives you a pretty high chance to hit because, again, you're 20th level, and it makes that 1d8 plus 20 for damage on one attack. Not counting, obviously, the Hunter's Mark, or whatever things might be riding on whatever kind of ability you have, or special weapons or magical items, whatever. It's an increase. This makes it more usable because you can't keep upcasting Hunter's Mark. Whether you're going to cast Hunter's Mark at this high of a level, I really don't know. But this does give you a nice little use out of a level 1 spell slot that you wouldn't have anywhere else. The Beastmaster Ranger didn't really change much from Tasha's. What it comes down to is, with exceptional training that you get at 7th level, your beast can now take the help action as a bonus action, and whenever it deals damage, as opposed to it doing its normal attack damage, you can make it do force damage, which is, again, something we're starting to see more and more often. It's on the monk's abilities that you can kind of switch it out to do that. Why force? I don't know. It's interesting, though it doesn't feel good to have like a panther maul and use its claws to slash at something and then do force damage. But, you know, it is a way to overcome resistances. At 11th level, your Bestial Fury gains the benefit of your Hunter's Mark. So whenever your beast hits something that has your Hunter's Mark on it, it deals additional force damage equal to the damage of the spell. That is a little bit more of an intricate augmentation because, again, you're using your bonus action to attack, and Bestial Fury gives your beast 2 attacks. So you're going to be attacking 4 times a round at 11th level and doing at least a d8 or whatever it is ends up working out. I think the Beastmaster is a d8 as well, the land beast, but that's a pretty big boost of damage. On top of that, with Hunter's Mark, you're good. If you hit with all attacks, you can do 48 plus 20 plus 46, which is a pretty big amount at 11th level. And then at 15th level, you share spells, which is something that was in the first Beastmaster, but not in Tasha's, I don't believe. But I might be wrong about that. But either way, you still get that ability, which is a great benefit for you. So now you can use things like Zephyr Strike and give your beast an additional bonus to doing things. On to the Gloomstalker. I really like the changes here. So first and foremost, with Dread Ambusher, you gain a couple of cool abilities. First and foremost, Ambusher's Leap. At the start of your first turn in combat, your speed increases by 10 feet until the end of that turn. Second, Frightened. Once per turn, when you attack a creature and hit it with a weapon, you can deal an extra 1d8 psychic damage to the target and force it to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, it has the frightened condition until the start of your next turn. You can use this benefit a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. And then you can add your wisdom modifier to your initiative bonus, which is great. So now you do an additional 1d8 on every turn, as opposed to just your first turn of combat, that bonus Gloomstalker damage. And third, you still get Umbral Sight, so gain a dark vision out to 60 feet. If you already have dark vision when you gain this, the range increases by an additional 60 feet, and you are invisible to any creature that's relying on dark vision to see you while you are fully in darkness. That is still super strong. Can't believe they left that as it is. I mean, it just screams dual wielding knives, but you know, that's just me personally. You still get Iron Mind, which is great because you get the proficiency bonus in wisdom saving throws, and if you already have that, you can get it in either intelligence or charisma saving throws of your choice, which, you know, depending on what you're kind of going for, what you're fighting, would depict that. If you're fighting Illithids, yeah, intelligence. If you're fighting, you know, anything Fey, then charisma would be a huge bonus to you. And then at 11th level, this is just killer for me. I absolutely love this. You gain certain features that you can use whenever you use your Dread Ambush effects. So first is Sudden Strike. You can make another attack with the same weapon against a different creature that is within 5 feet of the original target that is within the weapon's range. which is great. Just hit another creature, add additional damage, spread it out a little bit. Gives you a little bit of availability to use AoE, which is kind of pretty rare if you're not using spell slots. Or you can use Mass Fear. Each creature within 10 feet of the target must make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, a creature has the frightened condition until the start of your next turn. That is a 10-foot fear. I imagine obviously you're safe from this and you don't have to be scared of yourself, but be mindful because this can hit your friends and your party members. But that still can be a very valuable AoE disable for a turn. And that's awesome because you get it as a use of your Dread Ambusher feat, and you can use that whenever you hit. Again, that's based on how much of a wisdom modifier you do have. At 15th level, you're going to get a new ability called Shadowy Dodge. You can dodge with wisps of supernatural shadow around you. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on that roll. If the attack then misses, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. This is awesome. This is something you use on the first attack. At 15th level, enemies have multi-attack. You're going to be jumping all over the map with this. There's no limit to how many times you can use this. This is a passive that's always on. The only thing it costs is your reaction. Again, this is another thing that incentivizes you to be ranged, but I'm a crazy person, so if I'm going to be hidden in darkness, I'm going to be dual wielding short swords, and I'm going to be going crazy in melee combat. And if I do get hit, I'm going to dash out 30 feet and avoid everything I can, and then run up and do it again, because I don't have fear of getting hit. I can be crazy and in melee and evil and shrouded in darkness and invisible, and there's nothing an enemy can do about it unless they have true sight or blind sight. Finally, the Hunter Ranger. Now, this has gotten a couple of cool tricks added to it. So at 3rd level, you get an augmentation of the original Hunter's Prey, what used to be Giant Killer. Now it is Retaliator. So immediately after a creature within 5 feet of you attacks you, you can use your reaction to make one attack with a weapon against that creature, whether it hit you or not, which is super big, especially early on when one hit can kill whatever's attacking you. Again, you can choose this as opposed to Colossal Slayer, which is an additional d8 of damage if it is missing any hit points, and you can only do that damage once per turn, which is very similar to all the Hunter's abilities, and Horde Breaker, which gives you the ability to attack a couple of different creatures that are within 5 feet of the original target. Also at 3rd level, you get Hunter's Lore. This is actually pretty cool. If you're a newer player, this is something that you're really going to find insightful and very, very useful. So whenever you use your Hunter's Mark, you know if that creature has any damage or condition immunities, damage resistance, or damage vulnerabilities. And if the creature has any of those, you know exactly which ones they are, which is awesome. It's a huge bonus. It doesn't take an action. It's just part of the actual putting Hunter's Mark on a creature. If you're new to the game and don't know most of this by hand already, it's a great way to learn enemies and to evolve tactics and to kind of use a little bit of Battlefield Commander and explain some things in case you don't know if your party members know that or not, and help save them the process of like if I know I'm fighting a certain type of creature, like if I'm fighting a troll, I don't know instinctively to deal acid or fire damage to it. Like I know out of game, yeah, I should be doing that, but in game, I don't. And if I do that, I'm breaking immersion if my character doesn't already know that. So this is a great way to help out with that, especially for newer players. I think it's amazing. And defensive tactics changed a little bit. You get Hunter's Leap. If an enemy you can see enters your space within 5 feet of you, you can use your reaction to move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks, which is great because you can kind of mitigate. Say something took 30 feet to get to you, you can jump back 15 feet and now it can't hit you with the melee attack, which is always great. And then you do get some of the best abilities. At 11th level, you get Superior Hunter's Prey, which means you can choose another one of the Hunter's Prey features, which is Colossal Slayer, Horde Breaker, or Retaliator. Very big to have 2 of those. It's so awesome. And then at 15th level, you get another defensive tactic. Defensive tactics you get at 7, and now you get 2 of them. So you're definitely going to want to pick up at least evasion on one of them, and you can choose either Hunter's Leap and Uncanny Dodge. Again, with Hunter's Leap, Uncanny Dodge, and Retaliator, those are each going to take up your reaction, so you can only do 1 per turn. So try and really plan that out ahead of time so you don't get muddled with too many choices or too many things on the same kind of action cost. With that all being said and done, we're going to bring this video to a close. This subclass and the improvements to the Ranger, I gotta say I like. I don't feel like it's too overpowered. I feel like it gives you a lot of great options. It does push you towards range, which really isn't my ideal. I like being a dual wielder Ranger. I like dual wielding anyway. I know it's terrible, but it's definitely something that fits into my wheelhouse. It's something I enjoy. The inclination to use more spells and to be more creative with your spell choices as a Ranger, because you get Conjure Barrage, Conjure Volley, and you always have Hunter's Mark prepared. You have the opportunity to really experiment and learn the Ranger spell list, which is woefully underrated. There's a lot of great tricks in there, and a lot of people kind of miss out on that. But now you have incentives to do that. The Gloomstalker, I think, is so much fun now. I can instill fear. I'm fighting in darkness still. I'm still a scary, scary person. I'm doing additional damage every round, not just the first. And I have a great defensive ability. Granted, at a high level, but an incredibly great defensive ability. The Hunter is awesome, and all the things about the Hunter get even better. At 11th level, which is really achievable on almost all the campaigns that they lay out, you get to buff up who you are so much by picking an additional Hunter's Prey and getting the other defensive abilities later on at level 15. It's a big bonus to them. It makes them beefier. It makes them more creative. It makes them learn more. It makes them feel like they can do so much more, and their kit just feels better and better. That's really kind of what I feel about the Ranger. I think a lot of things are better. I'm kind of excited to play this, which is pretty good because I do love the Ranger, and I feel very confident that some of the other abilities, like I can't wait to see what they do with the Swarm Keeper, because I love having insects just crawling all over my body and just like living in the wounds and under the armor and just like crawling up my skin. Like I love that imagery, and I love playing up the creepiness about it. That being said, again, I really like the improvements. I think they're going in the right direction. And I hope they kind of continue to improve that and really improve dual wielding. I think that's an absolute necessity. But if you made it this far into the video, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to you if you've made it this far. A huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description. And when all's said and done, thank you for giving a spooky kid a chance.